Last month, we published an article entitled The 7-Year Itch. Within the article, I outlined issues both within the Affordable Care Act as well as the American Health Care Act, and how neither fully addressed the driving problem of health care in the United States. Rather than focusing on the cost of health care, these pieces of legislation instead focus mainly on health insurance, which is the healthcare financing system. After posting the article, I received feedback from multiple sources, one of which was my mother. Now, in full disclosure, growing up, my mother was also my English teacher. So usually when I get feedback, it's inclusive of both content as well as grammar usage. In this case, however, the feedback was primarily based on the content. After reading the article, Mom first commented on how informative the piece was, but then proceeded to ask the question, so what's the solution? At GDP Advisors, we have a rule: never address a problem without also offering a solution. In last month's article, I offered up the idea that to fix the entire healthcare system in the United States, we must focus on the micro rather than the macro. What I meant by that statement was that to solve a problem as large as healthcare, we must attempt to solve it each on our own rather than look to the government to do it for us. I've rethought that opinion a bit based on the feedback I've received, not only from my mother, but others as well. And after much thought and careful consideration, I do actually think that healthcare can and should be addressed at the national level. Now, while I don't discount my previous thought that to completely be effective, we as individuals and employers must focus on both ourselves as well as our organizations and work to be part of the solution rather than continually perpetuate the problem. However, since less than half of the population gets their health insurance from their employer, the idea that the entire key lies within the employer market was and is naive. The problem goes beyond employer-sponsored health care, and so also must our solution. The difference between a consultant and an advisor is that a consultant often focuses on identifying problems, while an advisor works to solve them. We have a process at our firm by which, to properly manage risk, we first identify it, then quantify it, and finally prioritize a solution for it. After thinking through this, I brought my staff into the conference room and proposed to them that it was time for us to cure cancer. Now, while I don't mean cancer in the literal sense, I do mean to point out that the healthcare system in the United States has become somewhat of a cancer on our society, both economically as well as politically. And it continues to divide us, and in the end, everything we as a country attempt to do doesn't seem to make an impact. The reason for this is, in my opinion, that those in power and able to make a difference are too motivated by the politics of it all rather than the potential impact a real solution would provide. So with that in mind, we're going to put forth our best outline for curing the healthcare problem in the United States. I have to admit that some of the things that we'll address I was at one time or another vehemently opposed to politically. However, in the end, and with all politics aside, those things of which we may not be a fan of might still be part of an overall solution to fix the system we have. In a perfect world, we could simply hit the reset button and start from a clean slate. But we don't live in a perfect world, and healthcare is too big and too impactful not to do the right thing. Some of the specific solutions that we will propose will likely be off-putting, or at the very least be opposed by some that affiliate with either of the political parties. And in the end, our attempt to provide a solution may have little to no impact. However, we can no longer sit idly by and continue to have strong opinions about a potential solution and not share them. We are advisors, and we are experts in the health insurance and healthcare delivery industry. It's time we take our place on the stage and make our opinions known. Throughout this process of rolling out our ideas, we will re-identify and summarize the problems with today's healthcare and health insurance system that we addressed more in depth in last month's article. We will provide data that will quantify these problems, and finally, we'll prioritize our ideas to solve them. I hope that as you hear these solutions, you will have an open mind. Once you have heard our ideas, my other hope is that you won't be able to identify which side of the political aisle we tend to lean. The reason I say this is because problems are nonpartisan, and so should be their solutions. Because of this, we must address both the problems and the solutions in a non-biased and nonpartisan way. We believe that the healthcare system can be solved by focusing on 10 key areas. And over the next few days, we'll lay out our ideas for these 10 areas. So sit back, Grab a bottle of wine or a bottle of water, whatever your preference is, and over the coming days, we will share our ideas to cure healthcare in the United States.